Welcome to EMG Transformations with Dan Stoll. Each episode will empower you to ignite your inner fire and provide methods to maximize your mental and physical performance. You never know how one valuable insight can make such a big impact. Please leave a 5-star review if this episode leaves a positive impact on you. And don't be shy to screenshot and share episodes on social media that you find helpful so we can spread the message and make the world a better place. You never know who may need to hear and the impact it has on them too. We're only scratching the surface. There's so much more to learn. Subscribe and stick around to manage stress, improve your health, and create lasting lifestyle changes. Buckle up and get ready to spark your transformation with Nova Fusion.
3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to EMG Transformations. I'm jazzed up and grateful to feature Jillian Riddell. Jillian's journey from teen mom to trauma nursing expert is nothing short of inspiring. Shaped by personal triumphs, her insights offer a unique perspective on the universal need for love and belonging. What sets Jillian apart is the transformation she experienced in her own life. Her relationship, once on the brink of goodbye, blossomed into a love much deeper than imagined. Her story is a testament to the power of internal transformation and the resilience of the human spirit. She is on a mission to create deep connections and address the pandemic of loneliness that plagues our society. Drawing from her experiences, she guides individuals from the internal transformation needed to achieve the external results they desire. Get ready for a journey of heartbreak to love that runs deep, marked by resilience and true connection. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jillian.
Hey, Dan, I'm so excited to be here with you. This is going to be so much fun to start diving into our conversation. It's been so fun to get to know you, to have you on my show last year. So it's going to be great.
And it was so great meeting you in person in Dallas.
I
About a
know,
month
finally
ago.
getting to hug each other. There's nothing better, right? Like then, it's one thing to like chat on here and on a podcast and on Zoom and get to know people, but it's a whole nother like level to get to hug somebody and just feel their energy in person. There's nothing like it.
Likewise, and love your energy. That was one of the things that stood out to me. But it was also really cool just spending time with you and your husband at dinner and,
Aw.
hearing you guys talk about the relationship that you have, but then seeing it in person is a different story. So I was able to, sit next to you and just like, witness that in person. And you guys truly have such a loving and caring relationship. Both of you are so supportive and, not only towards each other, but towards everyone else around you. That's something else that I picked
Aw.
up. So just grateful for that opportunity to be with you both and very excited for today's conversation.
I am too. And I won't get too far into it before we dive in on and into your questions and everything, but you know, it just goes to show you like we can come from broken and end up so much better on the other side. And like no matter where anybody's at in their journey listening, I really just hope that this conversation will help you find that in your own life for sure.
I love that. And, that's really the theme here, experiences plus mindset equals growth. And we're going to talk about some of those experiences that, could have broke you various times in your life. But, with the right mindset, you were able to continue pushing forward, shift your perspective a little bit, and now lead to all the amazing things that you're doing today. So
Mm,
without
thank
further
you.
ado, let's dive into it.
Let's do it.
So you were one of the biggest secrets growing up throughout your entire childhood, and now you're really inspiring others to live life without secrets, as it shows in the sign behind you there. And I'm curious to just jumpstart this conversation. Can you share what that journey looked like from being a secret to now being seen?
I love that question. So my journey started, I was a secret. So my dad and my mom met at a bar. They started dating. My mom got pregnant with me. And then my dad was like, oops, sorry, I'm married. And instead of everybody like just coming together and working through that experience, it was like, you know what, I'm not ready to tell my family. So I'm going to keep her a secret. So I was the secret until I was 18. I didn't know I was a secret actually until I was about 11 or 12. Up until that point, I knew everything about my dad's family. I just thought I hadn't met them yet. And my dad was a truck driver. And so he would go around the United States and deliver cars to their dealerships and go on commercial shoots for cars. And so he would come to me about once a year when he was in the area. So I still had a relationship with him. I talked to him on the phone, and I just thought I hadn't met these people yet. Well, by the time you're 11 or 12, all these emotions start coming up, and we don't know what to do with them when we're 11 or 12, right? And so we act out, we might get into trouble, like we lash out at our parents. And I was really like an angry child at the time. And so my mom drags me into this counseling office, which I was very reluctant to go. I'm pretty sure she had to like lie to get me there. And we're sitting in this counselor's office, and my mom had actually, she went in before me, and my mom had told the therapist that I was a secret and that these people on my dad's side of the family didn't even know I existed. And this counselor was like, she doesn't know that these people don't know about her. And she's like, no. And so at that moment, the therapist made my mom, they pulled me in there and told me this whole situation, like what the reality of it was. And at that point, I was like, well, that's strange, but I didn't know what to do with that either. And so, but when I was about 12, because I knew I was a secret, I was then allowed to go with my dad in his truck for like a week or two during the summer. And his wife would call on the phone, and I would be like so quiet. I'd be afraid to even chew on the gum in my mouth. Like literally, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to ruin his life, is what I was thinking in my head. And it wasn't like my dad ever said, like, hey, you need to be quiet. It was just like, this is how I knew where my place was. Like kids are really smart, and they will learn to adapt to their environment to get the love and belonging that they so want, right? And we do this as adults too. But I carried this. I ended up really seeking love in all the wrong places. By the time I got to high school, I ended up getting pregnant at 17. I was a senior in high school, and I actually graduated high school at 6 months pregnant. And I remember I had a high school teacher, and they were just like, oh man, like you had so much potential. And I realized in that moment, like most people would be like, wow, that's really harsh. And, it was really harsh to hear in that moment, but it was actually a gift to me in the end when I look at it looking back, because it was in that moment that somebody said that to me that it made me pause, and it made me go, you know what? I have a choice here, as we all do in our own lives, right? We can choose to become what people want to say about us, or we can choose to become the statistic that society tells us that we're going to be, or we can choose the other path. And for me, I was like, I will not be a statistic. I will show you all that I am worthy, and that I will become what I want to become. And so I started college at actually 9 months pregnant. I had my son on a Monday, and I was back to college that next Monday. And I'm going to try not to cry at this moment, but that little baby of mine actually just graduated high school this weekend. Oh, I knew I was going to do this. um And, I was looking around at like all the love and support that showed up for me during this time in my life, and all the work that I've done since that moment in time of like finding out you're pregnant at 17. And like, if there's anybody that can relate to that, like somebody that like, please let them listen to this, because like we are not defined by the obstacles that we are is in front of us or the choices that we've made in our past. Like you have the choice to choose a different path right now, today, while you're listening to this. If you're in the moment of a struggle, like just know that there is so much hope for your life. And I'm looking back and I'm watching my son graduate, like, and that is, I've done a lot of things in my life. Like I graduated as valedictorian of my college, you guys. Like I did all the achievements. I'm an emergency room trauma nurse. I run a top podcast. I do all these things, right? And now I help couples, and we'll go into that later. But like, I will tell you right now, there has been nothing more rewarding in my life than to see my son, like that I had when I was 18 years old, walk across that stage and graduate high school. And it made me just think like, how many moments in the now, in today's world that we live in, are we rushing through life? And we are not taking the second to tell the people that we love them, that we're not taking the time to have those conversations that we need to have, that we're not taking the time to pause and really listen to like, how do we feel right now? And what do we really need in life? Because the time is going to go by so fast. And like those moments are everything. Like I'm looking back now, right? And I'm thinking, oh man, like, it goes by so fast. Like, and I know we hear that all the time, but until it's literally right in front of you, like it has been this weekend, like it is like a reality check. And I'm like, it makes me more passionate about like the work that I do, right? It makes me more passionate about, I want people to live their life without secrets. What does that mean exactly, right? Like, life without secrets is not just about my life and how I was a secret. Yes, that's what we talk about as well. But like, how many things are we really keeping from other people, from other things in our life that could be the thing that brings us forward, that makes us bloom into who we are supposed to be, and secrets can be even like the way we really feel about something. Like, how many of us are closing our doors and living a totally different life than what society sees us as? Like, I don't want you to be there. Like, I want you to be listening to this and knowing that, like, you can become who you want to be and you can live the life that you want to be. And the first step to that is living a life without secrets. It's getting to the bottom of how you feel, what you need, and then growing from there. Like we start at the base and we work our way out of that. And so to answer your question, Dan, in my very long way, as I'm known for, because I can talk. um I'm really passionate. And I think that like this is such a good conversation to have at this moment in my life, to be honest, because I just feel so even more passionate about it.
Yeah, and I can just feel it radiating through the screen right now. So I'm loving this too. And, it's such a cool full circle moment
It
for
is
you and your
so,
son right now.
yes. Yeah. So full circle. It is. I feel so like I've had tears of joy, like tears of joy this entire week of like, we did this, and there was mistakes made, but like he did this. And like, it's that song that has gotten me all week is Growing Up Raising You by Gabby Barrett. I've been listening to it all week because I'm like, I think that song was literally made for me because I literally grew up raising him, and I look around, I'm proud. I'm proud of myself. And I want people to be proud of themselves too. And I look at the relationship that we've been at such a broken place. I look at my life that has been in such a broken place. And then you see what beauty can come from the brokenness. And I want everybody to get to that point.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's so cool about your story is that you did have so many struggles and tribulations that you had to go through, and it makes this reward of the graduation, just seeing all that hard work like pay off and know that there were so many times where you did want to give up or you did want to take the easy
Mhm.
route, but like you stuck with it and like you're seeing like the fruits of your labor and
Yeah.
like the amazing man that you
Mhm.
created and how he's gonna walk into his own steps now and live his own life and you really built that foundation there and that's just gonna be the gift that keeps on giving and I know with the rest of your children as well. So
Yeah.
there's more of these memories to come.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that, a lot of the kids, they're trying to figure out like where they want to go and what they want to do in life, after graduating. And, I think this goes for anybody nowadays. It's like you don't, yes, you should pick something and run with it because no matter what, when you get to that point where you finish it, you're going to feel on top of the world, number one, because you did it. Number two, like you're not stuck there if you don't like it. Like take the things that you've learned along the way and apply it to the next platform that you're going to jump on. When the platform comes, jump on it. See where it takes you. Like it's no longer that you need to like decide what you're going to do when you're 18 years old and then stay there until you're 65 and retired and old and like think you're going to go on that one vacation in your life. Like please don't do that. You
Yeah.
know, like try on something new. Like go for it, Like if maybe you had a dream when you were 21 to write a book and then you got into a career and you went off and you're in that career right now, but you have that thing in your heart that still says that you should write it, then go write it. Like what are you waiting for? I really feel passionate about that and I'm so glad that I can, have done the work on myself and I can now like help these other students that are like, well, I'm not really sure. And I'm like, it's okay to not be sure. Like, just pick something that you love and you're passionate about, run for it. If you get there and you don't like it, guess what? You're not stuck. There's options. There's always options. And, building a village and having people like that are around you that are in that growth journey with you is so important because, you know, when you feel that moment where you get stuck, it's those people that are going to be around you to show you like, hey, you can do more. You don't have to stay there. You can jump on the platform. Here, let me hold your hand. And I am so grateful for those people in my own life that have done that for me. And I want to continue to do that for others. And, that's why my husband and I, we went through a very broken part in our marriage as well. I know we're going to touch on that, but any part of life, whether it's business, school, your relationship, like there's going to be parts of it that are broken, but it can bloom into something so much more beautiful.
Dr. Doug's offers the best organic topical balms for protecting, healing, and restoring your skin and life. Just twist off a cap, apply like lotion, and get ready to feel outstanding. My favorite products are the Magnesium Balm for headaches and Recovery Balm for coaching basketball or training for a Spartan race. But that's not all. It started with Dr. Doug's original Miracle Balm, a rejuvenating balm fueled with all organic ingredients, including beeswax, extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil, shea butter, peppermint and lavender essential oils, and vitamin E. This one-of-a-kind solution is designed to tackle an array of skin concerns such as itchy dry skin, eczema, any rashy irritated areas, and much more. Now if you're bright and pasty like me, you may want to consider their Miracle Balm plus zinc as a natural sunscreen to keep you from frying up without any harmful SPF chemicals that are linked to cancer. Now do you hate bugs? Me too, but we got you. Try Dr. Doug's Bug Potion to repel bugs, relieve itchy bites, and kill bacteria so you can enjoy the great outdoors once again. There is truly something for everybody, including that little one in your life who is trying to tell you to get Dr. Doug's Baby Balm for their bum right now. And here's your chance. Click the link in our show notes now to enhance your life with Dr. Doug's Balms and get extra to share with those who you care about. Take back your power and feel outstanding with Dr. Doug's Natural Balms. Her story is a testament to how beautiful it can get. And one of these questions I have for you is going back to those times where you were in the truck with your dad actually, and
Mm,
you felt like like the word that comes to my mind is like suppressing. You had to be so
mm,
silent, you couldn't
mm,
make the smallest peep, even chew your gum. And for me, it's like that's a lot of emotions that you're, you know,
mhm,
putting down in here. And so I'm curious, how did that affect your self-worth going forward? Did it
mm.
feel like, you know, you had to be silent, like you couldn't speak up? Like how did that just play into factor going forward?
So what it did was it made me very like I could go in any room and get people to like me because I would be almost like a chameleon.
Mm,
And I would people please because I thought that like if I was accepted, that meant that I was worthy in any environment. Didn't mean even if they were doing the wrong things, like I would go in that environment and be like a little chameleon and just kind of blend in and get people to like me. And so luckily, I had my son and I chose an area that it would benefit me in that way, right? So I got used to achieving, right? Like I became valedictorian and I'm proud of that. But at the same time, like I also did it um to achieve to help myself feel loved in a way that I didn't love myself. And so I would question, I obviously like I want people to achieve and become the best at what they're doing and I did that, but at the end of the day, like the most important thing is loving yourself in the process and doing it for you and not just everybody else and not proving that you're worthy through your achievements. Because what that did was I remember, as an ER nurse, I would be like, I'm so good at this because, I can just like see this terrible thing happen and go next door and I'm fine. I used to think like that was like my cape, that I could wear. Like I'm so good, it doesn't affect me. But the truth is that, in any area of life, and we see this with firefighters as well, and anybody in first responder, military, things like that, we see a lot of things and then we are taught to just like hang up our hat or hang up our scrubs and we go home and pretend that area of our life doesn't exist. And many people do this in other areas of life as well, whether that's at work. And we come home, we put on a different hat, and we pretend that other place that we are at work didn't affect us at home. And then we see our marriages crumble and we see the breakdown happening because we're not communicating like and getting to really how we feel and like having a way to release it. And some people that could be just like, going for a walk in nature and just being able to communicate how they really felt in that moment, what they need in the moment. And sometimes, I come home now and I'm able to communicate it. And sometimes it's just, hey, it was a rough day, and all I really need is for you to sit on the couch next to me. But, then it's like, oh, I can do that for you. And so I think, in those moments when I'm in the truck, yeah, like I had my self-worth was so low. Like, and I carried that for years. And in fact, I would constantly be looking through a lens of like, do I matter?
mm,
My husband would do something, he could do 100 things, right? And I would see the two things that showed me I didn't matter because it was like this lens I lived my life through. And I didn't feel worthy. And so I was constantly questioning whether I mattered to people or to society or to the world. And it wasn't until I did the work on myself that and went to a lot of therapy and mistakes were made in my own marriage as well. It got to the point I used to say we carried around our grief cases
mm,
because my husband and I both came from broken families and we didn't know how to unpack our bags together.
right.
And so what we did is carry around these grief cases of all this grief that we carried. And when you enter a relationship, especially when you're young and you haven't unpacked it all yet, or you never were taught the tools to unpack it yet, no matter how old you are, it gets really heavy. And in the beginning of a relationship, you can kind of like hand your bag to somebody and it like, oh, let me get that for you, right? It feels like a little bit easier. You're people pleasing in that relationship in the beginning because you want them to like you because you like them. And pretty soon, like the seams get really worn and the bag gets heavier, and pretty soon it's gonna break, and that's really what happened to us. Like we started being each other's grief, and not knowing that what we had in our childhood was now impacting our relationship. And the first thing I wanted to do was run away. It was like, how do I plan my exit?
Oh,
Because
wow.
that's what I knew. I would avoid my emotions, avoid the situation. It's like when something got bad, it was like retreat, which is why I was so good in the ER, right? I'm like, oh, there's a bad emotion. I'm retreating out of here and going to the next one, and I wore that like it was something to be proud of. But really, now that I've done the work, I can tell you that life is so much more fulfilling when you can be honest and when you can, sit in those emotions and then grow from them instead of avoiding them and pushing them under the rug and behind your door and behind the screen that you're looking at.
Hmm. Always. And it doesn't matter, what the situation is. Anything that's suppressed, that's just going to eat at you over time. And, they
Mm-hmm.
say that disease is your body at dis-ease for long periods of time. And so that's a very interesting concept for me as, growing up with an alcoholic father and then getting Crohn's
Mm-hmm.
disease. It's like, well, did the two and two really happen? And,
Yeah,
the more I learn about it, it's like, well, it probably did because taking accountability on my end, I didn't have ways to manage or cope with it either. So even though
Mm-hmm.
that event happened, we're all responsible to some extent in how we manage and deal with that situation. So I dealt with it poorly and, it disease manifested afterwards. Does it all
Yeah,
correlate? I'm not really sure, but I definitely had my part to play in that as well. And I don't think it's fair to just point the finger at, every circumstances that happens in our life, even if, it wasn't necessarily our fault. So that's something
absolutely.
that, yeah, I think about and, trying to wrap all of this together. So I thought it was interesting when you said chameleon. And my next question is, when did you start, looking for love internally? Like, where did you start
Mm.
getting that internal self-love? And was there like an event that happened that like forced you down that path? Or like, what was that deciding moment for you that was like, no, I have to put myself first?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could just say I woke up one day and just started doing the work, but that's usually not why people change or decide to actually dig a little bit deeper, unfortunately. And so hopefully if you're listening to this, this can be the thing that will start your journey and not something that, I had to go through. But um I remember my husband, um, he was a police officer and he went into mortgage banking, and that was like a really trying time for us. We were having babies of our own at that time. We were just not on a good path in our relationship. Our grief cases were full, and I carried so much resentment um from my childhood and then into my marriage. And I remember like planning my exit of my marriage, like, oh, I gotta get out of here. Like I'm not happy. And I'm watching my husband, and he was on this like personal growth journey already.
Mm,
And I remember like, oh yeah, because everything is so positive. Like, I remember just thinking like this was just so stupid, and to be honest, like I was just in like a very negative cycle. And so I was in that moment of like just I'm gonna get out of here. And so I remember getting attention from a guy at my work, and I ended up making some poor decisions in that area because all I wanted was love. Truthfully, like when you really get down to the bottom of the whole situation, and we were just not communicating, we were not in a good place. And he found out that we were talking, and things exploded. And it was in that moment that we got to choose to either walk away, pick up our grief and walk away with it, or we could decide to do the work. And I remember we were both like, okay, and we had tried therapy before, but it wasn't like this, I will tell you. Um, we had tried that several times actually. Um, but I remember him saying like, "Hey, like I want to do therapy as well. Like let's work on this. Like we're broken, you know?" And he had made mistakes in our relationship before too. And we knew we were carrying a lot of trauma from our past and we had no idea what to do with it. And so I remember thinking like, "Okay, I will go to therapy, but I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to do it for me because I had never chosen myself. I had always done things for other people, whether it was like to be a good mom or to prove everybody wrong or whatever. I needed to choose myself in that moment. And so I found a trauma therapist. He went to trauma therapy. I went to trauma therapy. We had a Christian family therapist for our marriage and a trauma marriage therapist. We spent more than a mortgage payment in California, by the way, on therapy. And we did this consistently weekly for 6 months. Um, and we started dating again, and we went on one date a week, and it had to be something that we had either never done together or something we hadn't done in like 10 years. And it was to get to know ourselves and each other like again. And, for anybody listening and struggling in your marriage, I would very much suggest that you start doing that. I also have developed a course of all of the process that we had to go through, that I actually walk couples through together now, no matter what has happened in their relationship. We walk through a 8-week transformational process with couples, and it is actually so rewarding. And it is so nice because in the group, it's very much life without secrets. um, and like it's inviting you to get truthful because truth is really the foundation to all progress. And so if we're not willing to get truthful about where we are, we're never going to get to where we want to go. It's like asking your phone to get you directions to Disneyland, but your phone doesn't know where you are currently. It'd be pretty hard to find some direction, right? So we have to know where we are first. And so we start with where we're at. Like, where are we? Where have we been? And then where do we want to go and how do we get there? And it has been the most rewarding and beautiful thing to use our story from broken to really something so beautiful. And I love that you got to see us in person. We get that a lot, actually, to be honest. Like, and it feels so good. And I can tell you, just like, going back to the beginning of this conversation too, is like having my son graduate high school. I took a moment and we had his graduation party in our backyard. And me and my husband have worked really hard in life, in our relationship at this point, and I'm looking around with just a heart just so full of gratitude. Like, not only did we do this, not only did I graduate high school, at 6 months pregnant, now my son graduates, like, but we have this beautiful home and this beautiful life and, this beautiful relationship, and it is so far from perfect, but it's beautiful. And we know how we have the tools now and we get to teach the tools. And I had that moment. I literally just sat in my backyard. It's all decorated. It's beautiful. And I just had that moment of just like, wow, I am so grateful for the work, And so if you're in the struggle, like, stick with the growth process, even though it can be so hard, because usually it gets harder before it gets easier. If just to be honest, but if you're in that, like, just know that like you'll be looking back and just so grateful that you did it. So grateful.
Yeah, I'm just thinking right now, there was one day a few years ago that you were thinking like, man, I wish I could get to this place. and now you're
Mm-hmm.
at this place. And I want to like reverse that back to
Yes.
the listeners right now. Like you guys might be in a struggle right now, but if you stick with it like Jillian did, you can get to
Mm-hmm.
that place where you want to be and have that, that full circle moment where you see all that hard work pay off and you're living the life of your dreams. And I'm doing that right now to an extent. And I'm just like, I never thought I was
Yeah.
gonna get past this illness and do the things that I'm doing today, like traveling. The past 6 weeks, I was in three different cities, and like that's like mind-boggling to me still. Like there
It's
was a
so
point
awesome.
where I was only going to the hospital and the bathroom. So like
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep.
be able to go on an airplane, like that's a huge accomplishment for me. And I was even thinking like this travel is wearing me out, but like I'm grateful that I can travel still. So it's like it's
And
crazy.
that is so cool, Dan. And like it just goes to show you, like what you're capable of.
Yes.
And like when we want something and we're passionate about it and, we do the work, the hard work, there's no easy, there's no such thing. And those things that are the hardest are literally the best, like in the end. Like, do you think it was easy to have a child at 18 years old? Would I ever recommend that? No, I cried buckets of tears. I would be up for 72 hours at a time because I had finals that week, and I hadn't slept in over 72 hours. Like, this is no like easy process, but I will tell you that those things are the things I'm most proud of. And like my biggest accomplishments were the hardest moments of my life in getting through those. And so, don't give up. Do not give up when it gets hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And for someone that's in the trenches right now, like building themselves back up, what were like, a couple of things that you did to build back your self-worth? You talked about
Hmm.
therapy, but like what are
Hmm.
some things that you had to specifically do for you and like what did that look like?
Yeah, so I talked about getting truthful, and there's an exercise that I like to tell people a lot on, when I get a chance. It's the first step that we kind of go through in our 8-week program as well. And it's basically figuring out where you are now on an emotional level. Like we get another layer deeper because how many of us, we see each other and we're like, "Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good." "Oh, I'm fine." And even when we are talking with our spouses, like even when we think we're being vulnerable, we'll say something like, "Oh, I'm really struggling today." Well, what does that mean? Like, what is the struggle and what is the emotion behind the struggle? Because we really have to get to the bottom of things. We have to go like 3 layers deeper in order to really bloom from that place, like in order to grow from that place and get vulnerable and be able to express ourselves and what we need. And most of the time, we don't know what we need because we haven't gone to those layers deep enough to figure that out. And so, in order to figure that out, I walk people through a process and we go through an exercise. We start with the negative, right? Like, what are those negative emotions that we're feeling right at this moment? What is the situation or events that are creating these negative emotions? Is it because you're raising a teenager? That's hard. Is it because your finances are not in the right place? Is it because, you haven't made time for yourself in, a week, a month, a year? Um, there's so many things. Is it because and I really don't like the word stress. It's like a overarching word. Like what if you're saying I'm stressed, well, what is causing the stress? Make sure that you really dive into like what those situation or events are that are causing the stress, that are causing those negative emotions. So we write those down in a column and then we write, okay, well, what is the emotion? And so this is what I had to do when I was going to therapy is I literally printed out a list of 100 emotions from Google. And I would carry it with me because I'd never identified my emotions before, like ever in my whole life. And so I started getting more familiar with like, how do I really feel? Like if I look at this 100 list of emotions, like, what do I feel like, And you can also go to my website. It's lifewithoutsecrets.com and download. I have a free magazine, and in the back, it has a bunch of different emotions in it. And it's for this reason exactly. So you can go there and download it, get your list of emotions, figure out how you feel based on that situation. So we have this negative situation, this stressful situation in our life. What is it? What is the emotional response that we have to it? What emotion is it causing us? And then what do we currently do now? Um, in those moments, right? Is it, do you avoid it? Do you blame? Do you rehash the incident over and over again? Like, what do you do right now in those situations? And this is just the process of building our awareness because we, like I said, we can't get to where we want to go unless we know where we're at right now. And this is not like a judgmental zone. This is a truthful zone, and that's what I really elaborate on in the program as well. And then we, once we walk through those things, we then go to the positive, right? Like we think about all of the situations in our life and it can be something small to something big, like walking across my college graduation, or being the valedictorian and getting to, speak to my peers about where I had been with Play-Doh on the walls and in my hair, in college. But what are those what are those positive situations in your life? And it could be something simple like going for a walk in nature, list all those things that create a renewal inside of you, like that renewing energy that gives you those joyful, happy moments in your life. And then the emotion that goes with it, get back out that emotion list and go on those positive emotions. Like, what do you feel? And then what we do is we like chart them and it helps us figure out like where we're actually at in a bigger picture at the moment. And so I really encourage people, if you're listening right now, to get out a piece of paper and start writing those down every day. Because it will start building your self-awareness. And when you do that, it's kind of setting you up to being able to have deeper, healthier relationships,
Mm.
because then we're able to know like how we actually felt about a situation that day. And we obviously go through the more steps in the course, but then we can also then eventually communicate that on what we need. And is anybody ever going to meet all of our needs? No,
Right.
they're not. That's a lie, not the truth. But it'll create a positive environment for you and your spouse, or it could be your friend. It doesn't have to be your spousal relationship. It could be your friend, it could be your business partner. Like these are just the basics to developing healthier relationships, which then, right, will combat the epidemic of loneliness that we are all really living in. And I think that's why we see so much negativity in the world.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so good. And the two things I really picked up as pillars here is that awareness first, like knowing
Hmm.
yourself, loving yourself, like what makes you tick, what makes you like good, bad, like just having that overall awareness. But then the communication to effectively like communicate that with your partner, with your work
Hmm.
colleagues, and so on. Like a lot of times we may, I mean, I think awareness is the hardest piece, but even if we do know and have that awareness piece, that communication can be so uncomfortable at times that we would rather stay silent and just continue to suffer rather than speak up our true voice. So I think those two things are very important. And I was thinking, like, talking about this, I was gonna transition into like what are the steps to building, healthy relationships. But then
Hmm.
also it's like the loneliness at the same time because I feel like those two things build up healthy relationships, but then vice versa, they can also create the loneliness at the same time if they're not, if you're not self-aware and you're not communicating what you need at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's so important. I think self-awareness is really the first step in order to have any healthy relationship. Because at the end of the day, like, loneliness, a lot of people think it's because they're alone. Well, you can be alone and be not lonely.
Right.
And you can also be with somebody laying next to them in a bed and feel like the loneliest person on this earth,
Mm.
right? So loneliness is really a separation of ourselves. And in order to really develop connection, we have to have that self-awareness. Once we have that self-awareness too, what ends up happening and what is really cool, and it's a process, there, in the course that I have as well. I mean, we get to like our origins, like where our family origins, our attachments, where do these things come from? And it's really important to dive into that as well once we develop that self-awareness level, because then what happens is we can create self-compassion.
Mm.
And when we have compassion for ourselves, we can forgive ourselves and we can be more truthful when we are communicating with other people because we're no longer really looking for other people pleasing. We're no longer trying to please other people in our communication. We can be truthful because we know who we are, what we need, and we have compassion for that person that made mistakes in her past or his past. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I don't have to sit here and carry shame for any of the choices that I've made in my life thus far, and that I can sit on here and be very truthful about my life and where I've been and what has happened to me and the mistakes I've made, because I'm on the other side of that. And I have compassion for that woman, that girl, that grew up in that broken situation and know why she did that and have compassion for her, And so there's steps to this process for a reason. But self-awareness is key, and then having that self-compassion to forgive ourselves and then be able to forgive others.
Mm. Yeah, now I'm thinking like what makes a resilient relationship last? And that word compassion is like just
Yeah.
circling in my brain now. And you and your husband, you've been through some resilient times. So I'm curious, like, when you hear the word like resilient, like, is there a
Mm-hmm.
story that comes up that you just
Yes.
instantly think of between you two?
So what I first want to do, I'm so glad you brought up resilience. Because what I first want to do is like redefine that for people.
Mm.
And so oftentimes, like when I'm speaking or whatever, I usually ask the audience like to give me a few words on what resilience means. And most of the time people will say, oh, strong, like push through. And I'm like, well, what if I told you that wasn't really what it means? What if it means like, how much energy do you have inside of you to adapt to or recover from in the face of challenges in your life? That is what being resilient means. So when we're talking about in a relationship, at the like, I could tell you a big story. It's like when you're not resilient, what it looks like is we've given all of our energy to everything else in our life. So at the end of the day, when we go to meet our spouse, at the end of the day, we have nothing left to give.
Mm.
Right. And so does that really make your relationship resilient to handle challenges that's going to come? Because every relationship has challenges. No, that doesn't make it resilient, right? So, how do we have enough energy to show up to our relationship so that we can be resilient in the face of struggles, in the face of challenges, right? And that really comes down to like having that list of positive things in our lives that renew us, that give us more energy, and practicing those more so that we can show up for the most important people in our lives,
Mm.
for the relationships that we have so that we can feel connected and not separate from the people around us.
I
And
love
so, yeah, and there is actually a quiz also in the magazine that I created, the Truthful magazine on my website. Go take that quiz. It literally takes you a couple minutes. Take the quiz and see like where are you in your relationship? Is your relationship resilient, or do you need to work on it and build that resilience so that when you're faced with a struggle in your relationship, you're going to make it through on the other side a lot stronger.
it. That's so good. And you guys listening, Jillian's got homework for you guys today, but
I know
this
I
is
did.
gonna
I gave
be
them a lot of
great.
homework, didn't I?
Yeah, no, so this is gonna be great though, and I would actually really encourage anyone out there, do the homework and then, share your findings with Jillian and myself because we
Oh,
would love to
please do.
hear, yeah, like how this helps you, how this helps your relationships and, what comes out of this as well, like what new sense of awareness you have. So I'm very curious now to hear what you guys get out of it, and I'm sure Jillian will as well because I know she's always looking to improve, get better, and
Yeah.
help more and more people. So this feedback would be greatly appreciated for her. And I'm looking down, like we're like 50 minutes in. Like we've been just cruising on this conversation. I'm loving all of this. Could probably talk to you for the rest of the day, but
Right. We
we have to
probably
start
could.
wrapping it up at some point. So I got two more questions for you, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you got going on. So my first one here is, what has been the greatest lesson or piece of advice received that has made the biggest impact on you?
Um, Praise the progress.
Ooh,
So, like in life, we're going to start working on a goal or start improving our relationship, for instance, right? And you're going to hit an obstacle. Like the number one guarantee we can have in the next 365 days is that you will struggle with something, you will face an obstacle, you will face a challenge in life. That's just life. And so at the end of the day, if you can praise the progress you have, no matter how small, that's going to lead to a more fulfilling life.
yeah, that's so good. Everyone says trust the process. We're saying praise the progress today.
Praise the progress. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and we can move mountains with
And
faith.
trust yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust yourself and praise the progress.
Yeah. You listen to your intuition, right?
Oh, yeah. Big
Big
time.
time. Yeah.
Big time. Huge. And
Yeah.
that is because I have the self-awareness.
Mm. Starts
Because
with that
if we don't
self-awareness.
have that, we will lie to ourselves. Because our brain is just a pattern recognition system. And so whatever we feed it, it's going to look for more of it. And so it's just like when I was telling you about like how I didn't matter and I put on this lens of I don't matter, and then that's all my brain would pick out for me to see, And so we have to really train ourselves to take the pause, learning to trust ourselves and then letting our intuition, that inner voice inside of us, for me, it's God, but whatever you want to call it, um, trusting that inside of us to guide us. It's
Yeah, and
huge.
sometimes you'll think like, why am I going this way? But all things that happen are really preparation, and I tell this all the time. Like the preparation that I had with my alcoholic father, that helped me
Hmm.
get through those dark days with my illness. And I don't know if I would have made it if I wasn't mature and mentally strong enough to get through those tough times. So even
Hmm.
though things, may not be going the way you anticipated or the way you wanted, I'm sure you can look at your life and be like, well, if that didn't
Yeah.
happen, I'm sure this wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
be the person that I am today and doing the things that I'm doing.
That's exactly right. It's so true. And people always ask me like, "Oh, do you have a relationship with your dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I absolutely do. We have a good relationship. He was just here." And it's because like I can look back at my situation and go, "That made me who I am. I'm grateful for
Mm.
it now." And that might sound weird to people, but that's just the work. When you get to that point and you realize like, gosh, who would I have become if I didn't have that in my life? I'm grateful for the work I've done, and that those broken things led me to it. And so I can be grateful for that.
Mm. Well, I'm
Yeah,
grateful for
so
your
good.
growth.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
And right back at you.
yeah, appreciate you. Now we got one last one. If you could go back in time and give advice to your younger self when you had your
Mm.
first two children, your husband was working crazy hours starting this
Hmm.
mortgage business, and it just felt like the whole weight of the world was hanging on your shoulders. What would you say to yourself to get through those tough times?
That's a good question. And you know what? I think that when we're in like those really stressful times and we have all this overwhelm in our lives, I think I would tell myself to pause. I think I would. I think I would um I'd I'd tell myself to get quiet and trust and really like dive deeper and start asking myself the questions that I wanted to ask everybody else.
Mm,
We oftentimes we get into a place of like overwhelm and we want to like ask everybody else like what the problem is instead of really asking ourselves. And so I would say like I would take a pause and get quiet and then start asking myself the questions that I'm asking of the world.
that's so good, and it seems so counterintuitive when you're so overwhelmed, but
Hmm.
truly that is the thing that we need. I know so many times I've been really overwhelmed in my life, and then I make this quick, rash decision that just completely backfires. I was not trusting the process at all. I was just
Hmm.
trying to speed it up a little bit, and that's where things backfire. So when you can slow down, get that awareness, and ask yourself the questions. And I think a lot of it's like we're asking questions to get validation to take the right next step. It's like
Yeah.
we all have the answers. That's something that I learned at Amberly's event in Dallas with you.
Hmm.
It's like
Hmm.
I have the answers. I don't have to
Yep.
go keep on asking around for different mentors, like what path should I do? Like what should I be
Yep.
going, what direction? I know what I want to do. It's
That's
just like
exactly
putting the
right.
pieces together to get that to happen. And we all have the pieces available to us. It's just finding the right spots. And, nobody is really more qualified than you. It's your life. And so
Yeah.
that's something that I
Yeah.
really had to learn. And it sounds like, going through everything that you've gone through, it's like you've learned the same lesson and you would just
Hmm.
want to pass that down. So anyone out there listening, slowing down is not, it can be a little scary sometimes, but it's not a bad thing at all. And
Hmm.
it can actually, slowing down can help you speed up.
100%. That's exactly right.
I love that. Well, those were two very valuable takeaways for us. Definitely go and run those back, run this entire conversation back. But before we head out, you got to let us know what is the best way to support you. You mentioned your new magazine, you got your new relationship course. So just run those by us one more time and would love to hear about it.
Yeah, well, you guys can connect with me. I'm actually on my Life Without Secrets podcast Instagram page mostly. So you can DM me on there. I would love to hear your feedback from this, and any of the work that you've done. I do have my magazine, so you can go to lifewithoutsecrets.com and just scroll down a little bit, and you'll see you can just download my magazine for free. And there's a lot of things like the quiz on resilience and all that in there. So go ahead and read that. And then, yeah, if you are struggling, or if you just want some growth in your marriage, or you want to do the work and dive into like I want to be able to communicate how I really feel. I'm not even sure how I feel. Or maybe like you're just feeling like you're so exhausted at the end of the day that you just don't have any energy to give those people in your life that are really most important. So if you feel that way, like connect with me. Also on my website, you can click on courses and you can read about our Love Without Secrets program. I'm only doing it. We just ended the first 8-week program and I'm starting another one in August. So if you are interested, make sure you go on the website. You can DM me, you can book a call with me if you want to find out more information. But I'm here to help. And so, yeah, connect with me.
Love it. You know where to find her, Instagram, Life Without Secrets. Jillian, thank you so much for taking time to be here with me today and being vulnerable to share your story. Your kindness, resilience, and positivity shine hope, and the world is a brighter and better place because of you. I'm so
Mm.
honored that we have crossed paths and to call you a friend. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, Dan, thank you so much for having me on. This has been so much fun. You are so good at this. I'm so glad that you are on this journey with me and that I got to hug you in person. I can't wait to do that again soon.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be coming up soon. So,
That's right.
extremely grateful for you. Thank you so much.
You too.
All right, cut scene. We
Yay!
did it.
We did it. That was so much fun.
I know. We literally just blew through that whole episode. Like,
I
it
know.
happens more and more.
I'm like, I can talk. So I'm like, you gotta like interrupt me here.
No, I
I'll
just
just keep talking.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things. I just let people talk because it's like it's not
Mhm.
about me. I'm featuring you guys. Like I want to hear your story. So like
I know.
let me have it.
Yeah, I feel that way too. And so, it's always a bummer. I feel like when you get on to like interview someone, they give you like 2-word answers and you're like, okay, that's all you have to say? All right.
Yeah. It's like I did
You
so
know?
much prep for this. I want more.
I know. Exactly.
Are you ready to take charge of your health and transform your life? Well, get ready because we have the solution for you. Introducing the Nova Fusion 21-Day Wellness and Resilience Challenge. the ultimate program designed to stack massive momentum, achieve peak performance, and spark your transformation. In just 21 days, you can experience a total wellness revolution. Our challenge is jam-packed with daily inspiration, education, downloadable resources, and exciting challenges to keep you fired up and on track. But that's not all. When you join the challenge, you'll also become a member of our exclusive Nova Fusion family. Together, we'll support and uplift one another as we continue to grow and thrive. Unlock the secrets of the world's best wellness and resilience practices to stay mentally and physically fit for a lifetime. From renewing healing practices to transformative high-performance techniques, we've got you covered. And here's something that sets us apart. I believe in these practices so much that I'm offering a money-back guarantee. That's right, if you don't see results, you can get your money back, so you have absolutely nothing to lose, but everything to gain. So what are you waiting for? Take advantage of this limited time opportunity right now. Go to novafusion.co/challenge to sign up and embark on the journey of a lifetime. Let's spark your transformation together. I can't wait to see you on the other side.